So yeah, just to everybody who's coming in at the moment, just to let you know, we'll be starting off in a few minutes. Thanks for joining us. And also actually, so we're going to have a, hello, Toby. We're going to have like a Q&A towards the end. So please leave your questions in the Q&A section below. I feel like a presenter. Yeah, the Q&A section in Zoom. Just leave, yeah, any questions, any burning questions you've got about the incubator, about the programs, leave them for us. Liv and I are going to be answering everything. Yeah, Alison, thanks for that. So if you haven't applied already, as you know, we're going to be launching these entrepreneurship incubators today. That's why we're all here. If you haven't applied, obviously you probably want to know more first, but please go to weareonetech.org and apply. Amazing. Okay, couple of minutes to showtime. I'm just going to keep going on loop. So couple of minutes to showtime. So, you know, get that cup of tea, get that water, get that sandwich even, if you haven't had your lunch. Just settle down. We're about to start in a minute.
Hi everyone, sorry I'm so late.
You're not late, Andy. You're on time.
Hi, Andy.
Hey Liv.
Hey.
Right, so I think it's 3 o'clock. Do you know what? I think we'll just kick off now. So first of all, hello everyone. I hope you're all well. My name's Emma Banye. I'm an entrepreneur at residence at OneTech. Thank you so much to all of you for attending today's launch of the next phase of OneTech activities. So today is not only the launch of our new activity over the next year or so, but it's also a bit of an update, a bit of a celebration. So as I said before, please sit back, relax, ask questions, make sure you've got your cup of tea and your sandwich ready. Olivia and I are going to be doing an AMA session towards the end of this session, or this call. So please, if you've got any questions about the range of activities that we're going to be launching today, please add them below in Zoom. So first of all, I'm going to run through the agenda for this afternoon. So we're going to start with a welcome message by Oliver Gregson from JP Morgan. We're then going to follow up with an introduction to our new activity and our new partners, the Nest and the Angel Investing School. Olivia Reed, Senior Community Manager at OneTech, will be having a fireside chat with a few founders who've previously been part of OneTech. We'll then have a bit of a break because obviously Zoom fatigue is real. And then we're going to end with an AMA with myself and Liv to answer your questions about the new programs, followed by a bit of a closing message. So without further ado, let me introduce Oliver Gregson to say a few words. Oliver Gregson is Head of Private Banking, UK and Ireland at JP Morgan. He's been a massive champion for OneTech from the very beginning and is super committed to everything that we do. Oliver, I just want to say first of all, before you take the mic, it's been immense having your support you know, with OneTech across the business at JP Morgan. We love, you know, and we look forward to continue to work with you to create greater impact within the London ecosystem. So without further ado, Oliver, hand over to
Emma.
you.
Thank you, Emma. That's it's great to see everyone again. Thank you for those really kind of kind words of introduction. I'm Thrilled to be with you again, although saddened, obviously, in the context of things that we can't see one another in person. This feels like another major milestone in the partnership with OneTech. We're celebrating 2 years in, and of course, launching your new program of activities for the upcoming year. I recognize that I'm in between sort of the main part of the show, but if you will indulge me, I just did want to say a few words. Firstly, that you're going to hear from some amazing founders in the OneTech community, Emma, Ryan, Ade, who've built some really, truly impressive businesses, which I think will be really inspiring for all of us. And also, I think it's been great to see all the interest that there's been in the new incubators launching as well. Capital Enterprises as a really important partner for us, have been, I think, phenomenal in what are, of course, very difficult circumstances, continuing to support founders and the founder community amongst the backdrop of the last 6 to 9 months. So on behalf of JP Morgan, a huge thank you to Alison, to Emma, to Andy, and the whole OneTech team and partners for all of your tireless commitment in making the tech startup space more diverse, more inclusive. Emma's right. I've been privileged to be part of this journey from the beginning. Other than the sort of day job Emma mentioned, another hat I wear is as the sponsor for our small business initiative as part of our corporate foundation, which is really why I'm talking to you today. I was there at the 1-year anniversary in September, and I think just over those 2 years, just to reflect on the progress we've seen, I think it's really cool. And the numbers say it themselves: £14.4 million raised, over 130 jobs created, with over 1,000 founders engaged in the community. But it doesn't stop there. We want to continue to work with this great initiative, and that's really what today is about. I also have to reflect, just going back to when we were with one another last in September, just how much has changed in 6 months. The historic nature of what is a global pandemic in COVID, really has affected us all in one way or another. So I did want to say, on behalf of all of my partners here at JP Morgan, I sincerely hope all is well and safe with you and your families. But coming back to the agenda and the initiative at hand, diversity within tech and the tech sector, particularly in London. I'm sure we all know this. It's been a vibrant, important driver of the wider UK economy. Up until sort of last year, this was some 60 billion odd pounds in turnover, 300,000 jobs, and 8,000 or so startups. But the impact of COVID, both on the tech startup scene and on diverse groups, has been hugely destructive. And we have to continue to focus on this initiative to improve both the diversity in the scene, to help engender resiliency, stability of the entrepreneurs within it, but also to drive the tech innovation, the creativity, and the productivity that comes from having a more inclusive, productive tech ecosystem. I still think it's 2020, financial services, still a bit Jurassic on some of this stuff, still needs to do a lot of things to get better at this, but I still find it shocking, that for every £1 of VC invested in the UK, less than 1p goes to all female-led teams, and we don't even have the equivalent data for Black and minority ethnic-owned businesses. But we know that over 80% of venture capitalists are white, and most VC funding goes to white, all-male-led teams. That's why I think part of this initiative is so excited to make sure that we can try and change this. Last sort of few minutes, if I may, just on the small business initiative. It's part of the corporate social responsibility in our corporate foundation. It's 150 million a year, multi-year global initiative. We're trying to aim to connect diverse entrepreneurs and underserved small communities with targeted support and networks to help them, be more resilient, grow faster, create jobs, strengthen local communities in the economy. And I think, with our investment in Capital Enterprise, we've had a great start, and hopefully there is much more, to do to support ethnic, minority, and female tech founders at different stages of their journey. I also just want to reflect as well that I think potentially, I hope that this is the start of something bigger, more. Whether that's, Me Too, whether that's the tragic death of George Floyd, Amy Cooper, Black Lives Matter, worries about climate change. I think there is a genuine sense that with COVID as the backdrop and the accelerator, we really need to change the way that we do some of these things, and achieving a more inclusive and equitable conditions for entrepreneurs, requires, tackling, these issues from multiple angles with different partners. And that's what OneTech is really all about. Today, I think you're going to get a great flavor of that. What's been achieved in the last few years, what's to come, with some really, fantastic examples. So wishing you all fantastic luck, despite the challenges, that are right in front of us. It looks like potentially, constraints again on a lockdown are potentially coming. So very best of luck for the year that's ahead, and a huge congratulations to all of the team involved. And I really hope you enjoy the rest of the session. We're thrilled to be a partner, and certainly, as the team here knows, I will continue to advocate for that partnership going forward. Thanks again, and Alison, I think I'm handing back to you.
Yes, you are. Thank you so much, Oliver, and great to see you here. And thanks again for an amazing partnership. I'm in an automated lighting thing, so the lights have just gone off, which is always good. So I'm going to talk a little bit and very briefly. I'm the managing director of OneTech, sorry, I should say that. And I'm going to talk very briefly about what we've done over the last couple of years. And then without too much ado, I will pass back to Emma to give you all what you're really interested in, which is the detail on the incubator programs that we're launching today. So if we just, Oliver's already emphasised why we're here, but let's just not forget the most important thing is we don't even know the scale of the problem when it comes to Black-led companies. And I'm really conscious that a huge amount of work is going on in that area at the moment, led by people like Atomico, YSYS, Extended Ventures, and something we all need to try and grapple with over the next year or two is just to really understand the scale of the problem when it comes to the diversity deficit for Black founders and Black-led businesses. What we do know is that for women, it's pretty awful, like 1 penny in every pound. Only 1 penny in every pound goes to teams with all female founders. That's 1%, that's extraordinary. And a staggering 92% went, EU level went to all male founding teams. So it's really clear that across London, across the UK and across Europe, underrepresented communities are really missing out. And that's really one of the things we've been trying to tackle through OneTech over the last couple of years. So I think hopefully most of you know that we're about connecting these communities with opportunities in tech startups. And we do this in a number of different ways. And today we're here to launch our new entrepreneur incubator. We also offer a talent incubator and a range of community support that Emma will talk about a little bit later. But today, predominantly, we're launching the entrepreneur incubator. Generally, also, we navigate any founders who meet our criteria around London's tech startup ecosystem, and we're hoping to go beyond London in due course. So we launched in 2018 with support from JP Morgan, and thanks again for that support over the last 2 years. Oliver's already said we engaged with over 1,000 founders. We've supported intensely 360 people. We're really proud of our statistics when it comes to the types of people and the communities that we're working with. 68% of the people we've been working with over the last 2 years are women, and 91% are from Black, Asian and minority ethnic communities. And Oliver's already touched on some of our amazing investment and job creation targets. But I think probably it's worth touching on some of our more qualitative targets. We think it's really important that as well as sort of working with the pipeline, so working with founders who are interested in establishing or getting involved in tech startups, we also think about the wider ecosystem, because if we don't change the system, it's going to be impossible for some of these founders to break into it. So as well as doing our sort of supply-focused work, we've also been working on the demand side. So we've been working intensely with Diversity VC to shine a light on the diversity deficit in venture capital. And the week before last, as many of you will know, we launched with them the diversity standard for the venture capital industry. We've supported 12 accelerators in partnership with YSYS with diversity action plans. We've supported over 16 senior agents of change with diversity and inclusion training through Fearless Futures. We've, as well as JP Morgan funding, we've attracted funding from the Mayor of London's Digital Talent Programme to expand our provision to 18 to 24-year-olds. We're doing some local provision in South London through the Stride programme. We hope soon to be launching a new programme which will target residents of Islington, Camden, Tower Hamlets and Hackney. And we've partnered and proudly partnered with a wide range of organisations, community organisations, including the likes of YSYS, UK Black Tech, Foundivine, Purposeful Products, Loughborough University, the Accelerator Network and Diversity VC. And we'd like to think that we've played a role in enabling some of those Black-led community businesses in particular in kind of really surviving and thriving over the last 2 to 3 years. So I wanted just to finish what I've got to say before I hand back to Emma with some feedback from our founders. We're proud to have worked with Loughborough University, Dr. Angela D, over the last 2 years. Angela's been our critical friend. She's been helping us to evaluate and iterate over the last 2 years to make sure that we can learn as we go. And in June 2020, we did an alumni survey of the people who'd sort of been involved in OneTech over the last 2 years. And 77% of all respondents said that we had helped them to generate or refine their business idea. 80% said that we'd enabled them to take their businesses to the next stage. And there are also really sizable and marked increases in both the number of people who were running businesses after their participation in OneTech, so 72% compared to before 43%, and those planning to hire employees and raise investment. So 88% of people who work with us were going to hire employees or raise investment compared to 38% before they discovered us. So we're pretty proud of what our founders have to say about us. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to really focus today's event in hearing from some of those founders. So I'm going to stop there and pass back to Emma, who's going to tell you a little bit more about the Entrepreneur Incubator. Oh, before I do that, thank you for my slide, prompting me for my thank yous. I wanted to thank, obviously I've already thanked JP Morgan, but I couldn't really, the whole OneTech programme would not exist without JP Morgan, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that. They are definitely our founding funder. We wouldn't have got off the ground without them. We're also grateful to the Mayor of London's Digital Talent Programme and the Stride programme in South London. I want to say a special programme to the inner sort of OneTech team. We've worked really hard to bring this to life this year. It's not been the easiest 6 months for any of us. I'm very aware of that. And I'm really proud that we're here launching new products here this afternoon. I want to thank the wider Capital Enterprise team, our new partners, The Nest and Andy Ayim, our old partners and continuing partners, Diversity VC and Loughborough University. And probably most importantly, I want to thank our founders and the wider communities that we're working with, because I hope that with you we can co-create something bigger and better for the future. And now I'll shut up.
Thanks, Alison. So yeah, everyone's here to find out what is next. So let's move on to that. Okay, so before I go in a deep dive into the Entrepreneurship Incubator, let me just tell you a little bit about our vision over the next 3 to 5 years. So we want to be the go-to high quality support partner that connects underrepresented communities with opportunities in tech startups. So we will leverage both our position, our connections, our resources to actually create a sustainable, equitable, diversity inclusion movement of change. So it's a big vision, but I really think that we have the support, the communities, the entrepreneurs to achieve this. So how are we going to do this over the next year? So over the next year, our focus is on what we call the Entrepreneur Incubator and community support, which I'll be talking, deep diving into in a second. But we're going to provide more and better content, online content through our partnership with The Nest, which Gary's going to speak about in a sec. We're going to have offer free spaces on the Angel Investing School. We're going to offer a talent incubator, which is not launching right now. So this is not going to be about that, but we'll be launching that in due course. On the thought leadership side, as Alison mentioned, we're going to continue to roll out the diversity standards, continue our advocacy and campaigning with government to achieve policy change. We're actually going through an internal transformation program internally within our organisation to actually make sure that we are also equipped with the right tools and resources to move forward with everything that we're doing. As many of you will know, we've backed the 10 by 10 Angel Fund, so we're paying for the operational costs of that over the next next year. And we're going to continue our series of founder stories to not only inspire others, but also to act as to actually change the narrative as well within the ecosystem. So the Entrepreneur Incubator, what is it? So essentially it's small cohort-based support to early stage founders and startups at whatever stage they're at. So actually we're providing more structured support for founders, taking again all of the insight and learnings from the last 2 years, but especially with Angela D, who's been our critical friend, and also the founders and all the sort of feedback that we've received. So we'll be focused on 4 main what we call streams: so ideation, MVP, early traction, and funding readiness. So we're going to be helping founders to validate or invalidate their ideas on the ideation stage. We're going to be helping founders to create MVPs either through code or no code solutions. And we're adding what we're calling early traction, because we're really, really conscious and mindful that, you know, we're living in a very, very, very different times. And you know what? Investment isn't for everyone, right? So actually business is about is actually about being a business and actually generating sales. So we feel that there's a gap in the market for a stream that's really focused on sales and marketing. And then with funding readiness, we're taking all the good work that Capital Enterprise has done in the past on their investment readiness programs, but also like expanding that to actually encompass all the various different avenues that you can go down as an entrepreneur to actually get funding from your startup. So that will be covering everything from crowdfunding, growth hacking even. It will cover areas like, you know, loans, grant funding, all of that type of thing. Registrations are open now, so go to weareonetech.org to actually register. And we're going to be open for about 3 weeks before we start accepting people, carrying out sort of screening and interviews, and then also going on to going on a really, you know, rigorous onboarding. So actually, you know, what we say to people is like, have a look on our website. You'll be able to see more information about all of this. There's also a little pack that you can read. But really, this is all going to be really action based. So we just want entrepreneurs who are really willing over the next 12 week or the 12-week program to really move to the next stage. As well as that, we're also adding or beefing up our community support. So we're going to have regular newsletters where we'll be offering accountability groups, mastermind groups, access to the Nest, which Gary will talk about in a minute, regular community events, coaching, workspace, discounting products and services. There's a whole suite of things that are going to be available. So who are the target communities? I think that Alison's kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'll go through it again. In terms of, so next slide, yeah. So we target overlooked and underrepresented communities in London. So this is now pan-London. Before, our programs are very specific to East London and South London, but now this program is going to be all across London. So specifically women, people of colour, migrants, young people, people without a degree from a Russell Group uni, so one of the top 20 unis in the UK. First-time founders without access to social capital or bank of mum and dad, and LGBTQI entrepreneurs. So without further ado, so I'd like to now introduce 2 of our new partners. So I'm going to start first of all with Gary Stewart. Gary is the CEO of and co-founder of The Nest, a platform for entrepreneurs. A platform for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs that levels the playing field. Gary was previously the director of Wira UK. He was also before that the CEO of Wira Spain. He's an exited entrepreneur, raised 4 million in his previous startup before being acquired. Yeah, The Nest for me, in my opinion, is a must for entrepreneurs. The content is out of this world, and we're super happy to be able to provide the premium version of this app to 200 of our entrepreneurs. So Gary, please tell us more.
Well, thanks, Emma, for that amazing introduction, and congratulations to you, Olivia and Allison, for doing this, and of course to JP Morgan for supporting you. I think it's always really amazing to see who's been there supporting underrepresented founders from before it became even popular. And I think that when we look to kind of like OneTech and JP Morgan and lots of other organizations in a similar vein, those are the people who I think are kind of the real allies. So it's kind of a pleasure to be partnering with you guys. And I think by way of context, you know, there've been a lot of statistics. I mean, I'm American, so I kind of look there as well. And this really is a kind of a global problem. We live in a world where 70% of the US population consists of women and minorities. but they only get 3% of venture capital funding in what is the most by far developed market for venture capital and entrepreneurship in the world. The thing is that we don't have the numbers, as Alison pointed out before, for the UK, but there's no reason to believe that they're going to be any better. So the point is that in the UK, there's less money, and it's probably also being less evenly and equally distributed. So that's really what we're trying to solve at the Nest, the idea that you can have talent everywhere, and there's no reason to assume that simply because you don't have the right quote unquote skin color or family background, last name, university, CV, whatever the case may be, that somehow that makes you less talented. And I think the research actually shows the opposite. The research actually shows that Black founders and minority founders are usually willing to invest more money at early stages, work harder, but it's simply that they don't have the kind of infrastructure developed to help them to actually get to that next step. So it's not a question of aptitude, it's not a question of pipeline, it's not a question of willingness to work hard, it's simply a willingness of a lack of infrastructure and lack of willingness on part of people to kind of actually get rid of those. And so that's what we're really trying to do. The Nest basically consists of 3 major insights. The first is that, you know, as I like to say, if you could learn to play tennis from Serena Williams, or you could learn to play tennis from me, who would you go to? I myself would go to Serena Williams because I would assume that she actually knows what she's talking about. And that's should be no less true in entrepreneurship. The people who should be guiding us in entrepreneurship should be people who have been there and done that at the very highest level. And so we essentially have, as a first platform, masterclass for founders, people like Anwaj Kiki, people like Hussein Kanji, the founder of Hawks and Ventures, people who've actually scaled $100 million or billion-dollar companies who happen to look like us. Can we get some of their insights? Second thing is the peer-to-peer and expert support, as was said before, by Emma. One of the main challenges is access to social capital. Even if you work really hard and are really smart, sometimes the infrastructure just isn't there to help you. And so we can kind of get rid of that by talking to other people who've been there, or by getting access to experts who can say, hey, your pitch deck actually isn't that great. Let me talk to you about how to improve it. Or here's how you can actually improve your sales funnel. And all of this will be done via the app. And the last bit is democratized intro to angels. I think, again, the US has really great data on this. 40% of all VCs in the US went to only 2 schools, Harvard and Stanford. I went to Yale. I would be discriminated against in the US, not because I'm Black, but because I didn't go to Harvard or Stanford, which gives you a sense of the scope of the problem. And so we really need to be able to democratize intros to angels so that it's not based, and VCs, it's not based on what your last name is or how much money you have or where you went to school, but simply how great your idea is. And all of that can be done on the platform. So I think that's it for me. Again, we're super proud to be working with OneTech to offer the Nest free of charge to 200 of the founders within their incubator system, just because for us, there's almost no better partner in the UK, at least, than OneTech, because they've been there and done that from the very beginning, even before it was popular, to kind of support minority and underrepresented founders.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Gary. You know, as was mentioned before by Alison, you know, if we're really going to be or create a sustainable EDI movement of change in this ecosystem, it can't just be done on the supply side, through support for entrepreneurs, but it's got to also work on the demand side for the investors, stakeholders, etc. And Angel Investing School, for me, is an example of that being done in a novel and awesome way. So I'd now like to welcome Andy Iam, the founder of Angel Investing School. Angel Investing School is creating a pipeline of diverse early stage investors by providing them with the knowledge, tools, and access to make great decisions and invest in the next wave of tech entrepreneurs. Andy was previously an EIR with us at OneTech, is on the board of YSYS, a venture partner at Backstage Capital, product expert, serial entrepreneur, the whole shebang. Andy, welcome. Tell us more about the partnership.
Thank you. I'm very honored today to be amongst a lot of friends, and I always smile when Gary talks. He's just so charismatic, and I'm looking forward to recording some content for the Nest app as well. If you haven't downloaded it, download it. It's definitely good, and it's got some great content on there. I first want to say a big thank you actually to OneTech, because it's been quite a lonely place in this ecosystem to support diverse founders and investors over the last 5 to 10 years, because there's not many other people that are really doing this work, you know, and not many people know, but even the actual team at OneTech is very diverse and truly inclusive, and care a lot actually about being an example of what it means to be an ally within the ecosystem. So I just want to say a big thank you to OneTech for what they're doing for the ecosystem, and actually how they've even supported me on my journey on launching the Angel Investing School. So OneTech is currently actually sponsored 5 scholarship places, and that's both in our April and September cohort next year in 2021. And actually, they sponsored 5 places that have already been taken in the current cohort running right now. And the long and short of it is that, like, we're on a mission to really democratize access to investing so that we can empower more diverse individuals to invest in the next generation of diverse founders. And that's all of you. Because we believe that that decision-making power of being an investor shouldn't be just left to white middle-class men, but actually we need to democratize and shake up that pool so that more of us who can relate to our problems are investing in the founders and the startups that we know well and can actually relate to. So the Angel Investing School runs a 7-week program which walks through everything from sourcing and assessing founders through to tax relief and key terms in the term sheet, through to post-transaction support for founders. And we have a wide range of professionals, from management consultants to sometimes teachers or nurses or carpenters to ex-footballers. And what I love about this pool is that we have 45% women and 73% people of color. And we want to prove that actually there's people with networks as well as skill sets out there who are just waiting to activate and put their money to work in investing in great founders like yourselves. You know, and more recently, we launched actually the Angel Investing School Dictionary, which has nearly 100 key terms that we run into in this startup and investing ecosystem that sounds like gobbledygook until you actually learn the lingo and the language. Everything from preemption rights to MVPs to NDAs. Okay, so that's your little pocket rocket dictionary that you can all access for free on the angelinvestingschool.com. But I'm very excited about supporting this incubator going forward, even outside of the Angel Investing School, and continue to be a trusted partner and advisor to OneTech on this journey to really democratize access in this ecosystem for diverse founders like us and like you all. So thank you, OneTech, for all of your continued support over the years. But I also look forward to continue to support a lot of the founders, whether it's through mastermind groups or the incubator program, as we go forward. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Andy. And yeah, I say, look, anybody just go on to entrepreneur, investor, whoever you are, go on to the Angel Investing School and check out the dictionary because, man, it is illuminating. So thank you for that, Andy. So we just move on. Brilliant. So over the last year, as you've heard, we've supported, over the last 2 years, I should say, we've supported over 300 businesses through various activities in OneTech. So I'd now like to welcome my awesome colleague, Olivia Reed, who's going to have a chat with 3 of them to talk about their businesses, how they progressed, tips and tricks for making the most out of the OneTech support, and lots of other things. Hey, Liv.
Hey. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As mentioned, we've planned a chat with a few of our founders to share their experiences of building tech businesses. Today, we're joined by Ryan Downs. Are you there? If you can, say hi.
Hello, how you doing?
Perfect. Adefola Alade. If you can, say hi. Okay, and Yurankin, and she's here. And if you can, say hi. Hi. Perfect. So it would be great to get you all to introduce yourselves to all of our attendees here today. I'll start with Yuran. So what is your business and startup?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yuran, and I'm the founder of Nummy. We're a social app aimed to combat loneliness through table sharing. Currently, during COVID-19, we are operating a lockdown guide to help people navigate the London restaurant space safely.
Perfect. And then Ade? Oh.
Ade, we can't hear you.
Oh, are you on mute, Ade?
Not on mute.
Okay, we'll get you Ryan. If you could introduce yourself.
Well, yeah, I'm Ryan. I'm the founder of Stash Investing, and we have created an app which teaches personal finance and investing via gamification.
Perfect.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. My name is Adefola Alade. I'm a co-founder of Baking Intelligence. Baking Intelligence is an online learning marketplace for bakers. We help bakers in Africa and around the world improve their game. That's bakers who are serious about their baking and are looking for curated content.
Perfect. So I have a few questions just to ask you all. And this is really to help our founders really understand the journeys that you have made personally, and also to help them understand how could they make the best out of any opportunities that might be available through us at OneTech. So my first question, I'm wondering, what was the most important thing to you when you started your journey into entrepreneurship? Anyone would like to answer first? Ryan?
Yeah, I'll go. For me, like I'm very goal orientated, so it's very much like doing the thing, whatever the thing is, like creating the app or publishing the app or what have you. But I found once you kind of get to that goal, it's not as, I don't know, it's not as the way you thought it was going to be in your head. So now I guess I've kind of realized that it is so much the journey of actually doing things and becoming better, which is more important. But at the beginning, it really was like the things, like doing this, and then I'm going to be this type of entrepreneur. When I get this, and then I'm going to be this type of entrepreneur. But at the same time, like I've now, like I said, I've just enjoyed the journey more so.
Yeah. What about you, Ade?
For me, very similar to Ryan, it's actually been largely about the journey. The reason I wanted to become an entrepreneur in the first place, or even get involved in technology in the first place, was because I watched the movie The Social Network, and I wanted to be like Mark Zuckerberg. I just thought it was so cool how such a young guy could make such a big company. But I quickly learned that I don't necessarily have the skill set or the idea as great as, you know, the Facebook was at the time. And I just learned to appreciate the journey, and really it's just been a learning experience for me. I see opportunities and I'm like, I'm going to learn through this, I'm going to try this out. And so far it's been rewarding because after years of doing that over and over again, it helps you build your skill set, it helps you overcome imposter syndrome, it helps you become more confident in what you're doing. I feel it just makes you overall a much better person, you know, overall.
And you, Yuran, what did you find most important about your journey?
So I think my journey was slightly different. I've spoken to you, Olivia, about this, but for me, it was more of a baptism through fire. I did my master's basically wanting to go into consulting, and then I just stumbled across a 3-day startup bootcamp where people would just kind of show their ideas and get into it. And suddenly, I don't know when or how, but during that 3 days, just a light bulb lit up, and I was like, you know what, these ideas in your head, they're not just ideas, you can actually act upon them. And after doing nearly 2 years now in my entrepreneurial journey, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. And I think I learned so much from what I do. I've met so many amazing people that are on the same journey. So for me, the best part of being an entrepreneur is just being able to learn practically and kind of understand how it is to start your own company.
Okay. And my next question for you all is, what is your experience of navigating London's tech world been so far? Ryan?
Okay, my experience overall has been good. Yeah, and I think it's good to kind of make the distinction. As much as we say like London tech world, it really is just the business world, the world of business. And we do have a technical component, but end of the day, like my company it's a teaching company. It teaches people something. I use tech to teach the person the thing, but at the end of the day, it's a business, and it's really just understanding, like navigating yourself around business, which is ultimately difficult, but it's a learning process. And if you enjoy learning and getting stuff wrong and then getting it right again, perseverance, then it's okay, especially when you have a larger community around you with people that look like you doing similar things to you, like OneTech. It's a lot easier.
Okay. Yeah. And Yuran?
For me, I think as a female tech founder, It's been difficult. I'm not going to lie. There have been a lot of times where I'm going to events or participating in certain things. People would ask me kind of, who am I working for? They never expect me to be a tech founder myself. And obviously that's quite hard to navigate, but it's also taught me to be quite assertive. And you say, you know what? I'm not an imposter. I founded my own tech company, and really kind of own that. But I think with communities such as OneTech and other um, organizations available to help us, and seeing more of people like me, it's been definitely getting better. I see the landscape improving. And so I'm very positive that in the future, you know, people will take me more seriously and actually see me as a founder instead of someone else.
Okay. And yourself as well, Ade?
For me, it was quite interesting. And very interestingly, OneTech has been probably the most critical thing factor for me in terms of integrating myself within that ecosystem. So I came into the UK about 2 years ago now, while I was doing my master's, and I was really new to the system. I mean, I did have a bit of some family here and had some friends, but I did feel as a startup founder, having recently just launched Baking Intelligence, I was like, how am I going to move this forward? How do we move, you know? And I was constantly, you know, worried and, you know, trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. How am I going to balance running a business that runs primarily, you know, in Nigeria? At least we started in Nigeria, and then you continue running that down here. And it was actually Dr. Angela D, who's been spoken about earlier, that, you know, sort of alerted me about the presence of OneTech, and I thought it was a really amazing idea. I signed up. And I think just the opportunity to be in OneTech and, you know, meet people like yourself, Emma, everybody else I've met through OneTech and Capital Enterprise, really, and all the founders, Yiren, Ryan, and a host of others. It's been special, and I don't think we can stress enough just how important communities like this are, because there's only so much we can learn on our own, and we really do need a network, a wider network, to really help us get to the goals we have. And when you're coming in with no would I say pedigree, so to say, within that ecosystem, it would otherwise have been very challenging, you know, to be able to navigate it, you know.
Yeah, okay. I know you mentioned the point around community, so I guess this leads into this question, which is around what difference did you think it made to be in a program that's designed specifically to diverse founders? And did it affect your decision to take part?
It definitely affected my decision to take part, because I was like, oh, great, I've got a chance, you know, of getting in. I think that's really the most important thing. Is like, I feel like, okay, I could possibly get in this because it's tailored to diverse people. So I might not have felt as confident about getting in if it wasn't. So that was definitely motivating. In terms of, if I'm being honest, right, and this is something that I feel is important. A lot of time you hear diversity, and sometimes it sounds like it's just a buzzword, you know. And you know, so if it's diverse angel investing or growing tech business in diverse ways, it's not like it's that much different from what everybody else is doing. I mean, at the end of the day, I joined OneTech, and it's still the same, you know, entrepreneurial skills I learned, still the same tech skills I learned, still the same networking skills that anybody else will, but it's the access to it that's really important. And I think going through that and having the access to some of these things, having the access to accelerator programs, having the access to a network, having the access, you know, that kind of access, you know, it's invaluable as far as I'm concerned. It's priceless.
What about yourself, Ryan?
I would say that this, for me, it's a no-brainer. Like, I'm definitely going to be a part of something that's made for me, that makes more sense. And yeah, it's been invaluable. It's great to be amongst people that look like yourself, that like you can find a place within yourself, because it reflects the whole of London. London is a nice, diverse place, but in certain sectors, in certain jobs, in certain places, it's geared towards other people. So to have a place where you can say, oh, this is for me, and this person is like me, and they're on the same journey as me, like that's invaluable. And for me, it's a no-brainer. You should definitely want to be a part of something something that's going to be able to help you, and you're going to have access to tools and events and people just having conversations with people that you feel comfortable around is super important, especially when you feel vulnerable when you're starting something new. You've never done this thing before, and you're dealing with imposter syndrome or what have you. Having people that you're comfortable around is so much greater, to be able to say, oh, this is the idea, you can speak about it, and then you can make it into something so much bigger. So invaluable, for sure.
Yeah. And Yuran, I suppose, as a female founder as well, and being diverse yourself, what difference did it make for you?
To echo what Ade and Ryan said, I think it's just so important to be surrounded by people that are going through the same journey as you, and for them to kind of look like you and have the same experiences with you is just crucial, and it was crucial in my entrepreneurial journey. And I think organizations and OneTech are really making a difference, because even myself as an underrepresented, BAME female founder, a couple of years ago, I would say, oh, isn't it kind of contradicting to be, targeting a specific group? But now I understand, because it has been so unequal for so long. So we need to kind of level out the playing field. And that's what an organization such as OneTech is doing.
Definitely. So my next question here then is talking about changes. What changes do you think are needed for diverse founders to access this type of support? Ade?
What kind of, so could we say the question again, repeat the question again? What kind of changes do you think are needed for diverse founders to access support? I think there are a lot. I think societal changes, for one. I mean, I hope that a lot more organizations like OneTech crop up, because as great as OneTech is doing, they can't OneTech can't solve it alone. So hopefully, I would hope like more and more initiatives like this pop up, and diversity is encouraged. I think it's huge societal changes in terms of institutions. A lot of institutions taking the responsibility to look at themselves and say, how can we, as a part of our corporate social responsibility, contribute meaningfully, not just because it's cool to say, you're diverse, or, you want to look or sound like you're doing something, but to think meaningfully about how to, create positive impact within the society, and make a lot more diverse founders feel comfortable. Because the truth of the matter is, sometimes I don't like using the word diversity, because it seems almost like a buzzword that has no meaning. But it is incredibly true that we're all different, all individual, all have different experiences. I bet my experience in life is vastly different from, almost everyone else here, and everyone has a similar story. And there's so much learning, and there's so much, so many different perspectives that pertain to life and business, and that kind of thing, that sometimes I think it's highly overlooked, and sometimes it's treated like it's a buzzword, perhaps because you're in the majority, or it's treated like it doesn't really matter, but it really does. And it's just encouraging, and I'd say encouraging as opposed to forcing or vilifying people, but encouraging people to really start to look at how to make meaningful efforts into promoting diversity, essentially.
Yeah. Yaran, what would you say to that question as well?
For me, I've always been kind of passionate about people like us, helping similar people like us. So when I did my OneTech Founder Stories interview, I said in 10 years, apart from building my company, when I become successful, I would like to help others like me. And I think the OneTech community, we're still young, but I think in 1 or 2 years, a lot of these founders will become super successful, and then they would kind of lead the next generation of founders. And I think that could be something that the community could do to pay it forward. And also, in my opinion, it's not about just kind of what race and what gender you are anymore. Also, as mentioned, access to capital. For example, it's very difficult. For example, myself, I still work, part-time in a bar to be able to pay my rent as an entrepreneur. So it's not all that glamorous. So imagine if you give a founder the opportunity, kind of funds to support their life for 1 year, so they can focus all their time onto building their startup. That could be life-changing. So that's definitely something that we could do. Access to funds. I think it's almost taboo to talk about money these days, but it's true. If you're not able to support yourself, how are you supposed to, build a company? You need to also think about your mental health as well. So that's kind of what I would answer to this question.
Yeah. And Ryan, what would you say?
Yeah, similar, really. Access, because I kind of see it as when there's more people to have access to something, the actual thing itself becomes better. So, say for instance, football. Say if you want to be a footballer, generally the access is time. You have a football, you have a bit of time, you go in your back garden, you play, and you get a lot better, and you play for a team, and then what have you. And so the entry point is rather low, time and energy, and you're playing football. And as a result to that, we get the Premier League in this country because it's open to many people, and there's so many different diverse nooks and crannies in London. We have the best league in the world. So why would you not want that? Rather than look at something like maybe tennis or golf, where you have to have a club and a trainer and all of these other things where there's less access to it. You don't have as much as big and a vibrant or a diverse a collective of people. And this is what we want at the tech world. We want a massive, diverse, because the things with technology helps people. We get better. Do you know what I mean? The person who invented the car or the washing machine or all the technological like leaps and bounds that we've made is because it's been easier for people to access it. And that's what we want here. We want people to be able to access it, and then we will create better things, and the tech scene will just overall be better. So really it is access and money. It is,
If I could add really briefly to what he said, because I love the analogy he used about football, and this is what diversity really is. It's two things. Well, actually, it's a lot of things, but the two things I want to point out. Football, for instance, it's a huge economy. Football is extremely lucrative business, the sport business in general. But coming from where I am, and this is to say that this problem of an unwillingness to look into diversity in general, it's not just a UK or a Western problem. Even in Nigeria, for instance, there's no diversity in terms of career choices. You're either going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer. If you say you want to become a footballer, it's probably going to, this is a very stereotypical, classic old school Nigerian family, but most people would say, you're making poor life choices. But what we need the football industry could not have been developed in the way it was if it wasn't encouraged. And that, in a sense, was a diverse idea. A lot of the time, we speak about diversity as though it's your color that makes you different. It's not necessarily your color or your gender, but your experiences that really make you different. My experience as a Black man is vastly different from anyone else's experience as an Asian man or a Latino or a white woman. Like it's vastly different. And so we have different perspectives. And if we don't give enough people access to, say, funds or to say, these kind of things, you're not going to see them develop. If footballers in Africa didn't have access to academies that paid for their education, their feeding, their accommodation, they would never think about pursuing a career in football. It sounds like fun, but as far as everyone is concerned, it's an irresponsible idea. And that's just football. This has happened in, countless different sectors, industries, subsectors. You can imagine how many more interesting ideas and interesting ways of implementing things we would have if everybody with their diverse identities, not just people who've been Harvard schooled or people who went to Russell Group schools, or everybody got a chance to actually create this new world that we're entering into. It will really create a much more beautiful and wholesome society overall.
Yeah, that's a great point. We do have some questions coming in from some of our attendees, and I just wanted to bring a couple through. So, Yiran, you also mentioned that you're working part-time. So how many of you right now are full-time entrepreneurs?
No, hands up.
Yeah, hands up.
Hands are not up, so that's great.
Oh, I'm not full-time either.
You're full-time. Okay.
Working out here, like we've got to make money somehow. Do you know what I mean? This, as they say, the side hustle or whatever is not always going to pay the bills straight away, and you got to put them years in. That's how it works. Like, you know what I mean? You got to stand at the back and do your kick ups until you'll be able to, play in the Premier League. That's how it is.
Yeah. And I think Ryan and Adi, you can agree with me. It's not that we're not full time. It's just we have like 2 full-time jobs. We're working full time, but also working another job to kind of. So I would call myself a full-time entrepreneur, but I just have to, put in other hours to to support myself.
Of course.
Fair enough.
That's well said.
That's a good point and a good distinction to make. And then we've got a second question. So how did you find the one idea that you wanted to stick with? And how did you know it was going to be the idea that you would be committed to?
That's a good question. I like that question. I'm going to quickly go and like let him go. That earlier when I talked about the journey, for me, that was part of the journey, because I had a different idea when I first started. I was just like, I'm going to kind of do this thing, and it's a practical thing where you take people's money and you do this with it and you help them with that. And just going on the journey just made me realize, like, also what I'm capable of doing, because in my head I want to be Superman, but I can only do certain things. And then also understanding what helps people, because that's what I was initially trying to do. And having these conversations allowed me to realize that, okay, I think this is where people need to, what they need at this time, and this is what I'm able to give to these people as well. So I think it's really just speaking about your idea is a massive thing. People think there's this weird thing of like people stealing your idea and stuff like that. Like, you really got to stop worrying about that. No one's going to stop their life and just say, oh, I'm going to do whatever you've said you were going to do. It's not going to happen. Speak to people about it, and then you get feedback. And on that feedback, then you can kind of really say, oh, now this is definitely the idea, because you've gone through it enough. You've milled through it in your brain. So you don't. The answer is you don't, and you have to keep going until you realize. Then you'll know. Like, when you know, you know. Do you know what I mean? When you meet a partner or a girl and you speak to her and you're like, "This is the one," because like you can feel it. Like.
Okay, so we've got 5 minutes till break. So I've got 2 questions that I wanted to ask, and I also want to remind all our attendees that we have an Ask Me Anything session about our incubators. So please do continue to submit questions. We'll definitely get around to answering some of those over that session. But I wanted to talk to you about some of the things that you're looking forward to in the future, guys, and also what are your words of encouragement? So if I could start with, say, Yiran, what are you seeing in the near immediate future for your business, and what would be your words of encouragement to our attendees here today?
I don't know if I'm the best person to start with, because my food is to do with restaurants and we are in the middle of a pandemic. So my hope for the near future is to be for COVID to go away, so I can kind of restart my business to the original state, because we just launched last November. It was going swimmingly. And then everything happened. I mean, but it was definitely a good learning curve for me to kind of release something else and pivot and explore different things. But in the near future, I would love to be able to raise my seed round of funding to be able to scale NUMMI. And definitely would love to go full time and not have a side hustle to support my side hustle. And my words of encouragement for future entrepreneurs is that it's not going to be an easy journey. Oh, okay, that's not encouraging. It's not going to be an easy journey, but it's just so rewarding. You know, I don't sleep very much, and it's a lot of times very challenging, but there's nothing else I'd rather be doing right now. You know, I'm learning so much. I've met so many amazing people. You know, I get to go to events. I get to speak on panels like this. I get to champion diversity inclusion. Just, it's been a fantastic journey. So, you know, if you're able to join a community like OneTech, join us, and just try it out. You know, just start as a moonlighting and test it out. But it's just going to be an amazing and rewarding journey, and I would definitely encourage you to be an entrepreneur.
Great. And Ryan, what would you?
Yeah, for the near future is really just growth. I really, really want to focus on growth and becoming the best it can be. The product that we've got is trying to be the best we can be, and also serve the people that we're trying to serve on a bigger scale possible. And that would be great for the near future. It's kind of just really scale. In regards to what was it you said? Encouragement.
Yeah.
Encouragement. I would say, do it, man. Just do it. Just honestly, just try it, because you're gonna find out if you can do it. And it's so worth it, because the thing is, it's the person you become while doing it. While trying to do it, you become this different person, and then you realize that you're able to do other things. And maybe this isn't for you, but the person you become will allow you to do the next thing. So go for it, and then become that person. Go for it and do it.
And Ade, your response to that question, or those two questions?
So the first on the first one, where do I see the business growing? Hopefully, it's growth. We hope to be able to grow as a company. Luckily, it's interesting. Even though we're both in food, so to say, I guess COVID worked better for us, you know, as opposed to not the other way around. But what we are looking at is growing to make it a more sustainable business. We're hiring more people and hopefully allow it to sort of run itself. And hopefully, for me personally, I feel I'm a serial entrepreneur at heart. So, you know, move on to other things while, of course, still having Baking Intelligence as my baby, and expand, you know, my entrepreneurial experience, because I think it's addictive. I think from what both Yeren and Ryan have both said, it is true. It does. Entrepreneurship changes you as a person, and it changes you for the better. So really, if you do have questions around entrepreneurship and you've got a lot of, you know, you're shaky about, should I start, should I not? It teaches you about life. It teaches you about yourself. You know, it teaches you about your abilities. And I would say to everyone, I think everyone should be an entrepreneur. I think everyone should be. I think that, you know, I'm all for having a job, actually, because we all are. Like, it does make sense. But at the same time, it's a great idea to do something for yourself, to do something that you wanted to do. And not just because you wanted to make a living, but because you wanted to do it. So yeah, it's very worthwhile. And just do it. Like, that's really what it is. Just do it. And you'll figure it out as you go, like everyone else has.
Okay, so we're reaching a point of break, and I wanted to say a huge thank you to you all. All of the points that you've touched on around confidence, community, you know, it not being an easy journey, but, you know, being perseverance being a main contributing factor to, like, entrepreneurship in general. I also wanted to mention, you know, I'll put in some notes in the chat around the businesses that each of our founders represent. So we have Stash Investing with Ryan, Bacon Intelligence with Ade, and Nummy App with Yaran. So you can also check out what they're doing and any new developments that will be coming out very shortly. So if I can say thank you once again. We're about to break for about 30 minutes and then we'll be back for our Ask Me Anything session. So please continue to keep submitting questions in the chat and we should get around to it when we start that very soon. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So yeah, as Liv mentioned, we're having a bit of a break. So yeah, we know how much Zoom fatigue people get. So please, everyone, you know, go get a drink, go to the loo, go for a walk, whatever you need. We'll be back in 30 minutes or so to answer all your questions and go through some of the nitty gritty when it comes to the Entrepreneur Incubator. Thank you. Okay, so I think we're back. Liv, you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, wicked. Gosh, I haven't got my headphones on, I just realised. Okay, cool. So we are back for the Q&A section of this session. So should we just run, we'll just run through straight away the Q&As. We'll just go through the answered ones as well, just in case people haven't seen them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Liv, do you want to take the first one?
Ooh, okay. So Natal says, how do I fill in an application form? I'm happy to answer this. Yeah. So like we've been mentioning a couple of times today, our application form is live on the weareonetech.org website. There should be a link that will allow you to go to an application form. So you'll be able to register, share some of your, details, your name, some general information about yourself. But then also you have the option to then apply further on for the incubator itself, which will ask you a few more questions about, any ideas that you might already have or have been working on, so we can get a better picture of who you are and what you're doing.
Perfect. Nicely summed up, Liv. So I'll just go down to the second one. So it's anonymous attendee that asked, can startups apply that are not tech? So basically startups that can apply are what we call digitally enabled. So a bare minimum, so full spectrum of tech. So everything from hardware to software to websites. But as long as you've got a digital element, you can apply. So feel free to apply.
Okay, and so here we are to the next question. Does this also include digital e-commerce fashion brands? This question came from Nelma. It has already been answered, and yes, it does. So that's very similar to the point that Emma just raised. Being digitally enabled usually crosses a lot of sections or sectors. So you may get a fashion app, or you might get a beauty website. There's a huge range of different ideas that can come across different industries that still use a tech component. So yes.
Yeah, and the same goes for a blockchain company. Marcus asked that afterwards. 100% yes. There's a tech element, please apply.
Okay, and our following question. Can the incubator program be about helping a business develop an MVP based on digitizing or techifying a currently mostly offline human solution? So yes, we've had our team as well answer this, but for the benefit of everyone else, we do have an incubator that is very much targeting people that are building MVPs. So MVP is a minimal viable product. So it's just the very first version of your product that can sort of achieve the end goal that you're aiming to build with your business. And throughout that 12-week program on the incubator, you have the opportunity to speak to industry professionals about how you might go about making this build, either using no-code solutions. So these are tech products that already exist that you can use to your benefit to sort of fulfill the aim that you're trying to achieve, or how you might go about a more technical build. And luckily, because of our position as OneTech, we have a huge range of mentors and other people that have built different types of products. And so we have a lot of information that we can be able to dispense and share with our founders. So there's definitely something for everyone. And especially if you have a business that you're trying to digitize and make more scalable, there is definitely an option available to you.
Cool. I also just want to stress one point, because I think it got asked somewhere here or in the chat, and I've seen it in via email as well. OneTech is completely free. We do not take a fee. We do not take equity. So, you know, we do this like literally through the funding that we receive through our backers, such as JP Morgan and others. So yeah, like we're not taking anything from this. It's completely free. And I know that's hard to believe, but it's true. Yeah, let me see. Okay, so in terms of, so John Paul asked, what is the best way to discuss which of the different programs being offered, so MVP, early traction funding, are best for a company? We are planning funding. We're planning funding, but also would welcome strengthening our MVP and more traction. We are a fintech at City Launch Lab, City University. That's a really good question. So I think maybe we can tackle it both, each of us, right? So in terms of like the early stage ones, so we could typically say that if you are validating your ideas, whatever you're trying to validate at that point and what it most aligns to. So if you're trying to validate an idea, whether or not your product or service, your idea is feasible, then obviously ideation, right? If you have validated your idea and you want to go out and build it out, then we would, envisage that actually the MVP stream is probably best suited to you. If you have a product out there on the market and you maybe have one early customer and you'd like to know how to scale that and how to kind of, get more customers and actually see how you can ramp that up, traction is definitely for you. However, I think maybe we can touch on as well that we are aware and mindful that you might have a deep tech product that is maybe at post ideation stage, so you're actually building out the MVP, but you may be actually ready to raise funding, because deep tech products require significant R&D effort, and so there are funds that are willing to invest in you at that stage. And so we might say to that person, hey, come down the funding route. The same goes for like, if you have a product or service, you've got a load of sales and you're ready to take that next step, then we would probably say, you know what, let's look at the different funding options that are available to you. But what we're going to ask you to do as part of your, I think your application form, is to kind of just fill it out and answer all the things. We'll ask you to say which one that you're interested in, but actually behind the scenes, we as a team, we're going to be going through each application, and we'll actually be looking at what you've written and looking at your product service and thinking about maybe, if we don't think, for example, funding is right for you at this moment, we might offer you a place in a different incubator stream. The other thing to note is that we're running this twice. So the first sort of cohort is as of, from early November, but come early spring, we'll be also doing another set of the same incubator streams again. So there's double the chance to kind of get involved. Liv, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely echo all that Emma's said. It's definitely about how you write that application form. It gives us the best picture of what's happening for you, and then we can make the best recommendations. So I would encourage all of you to share as much as possible. It gives us as much information as possible to work with and find something that is tailored to the startup you're actually building. So yeah, definitely agree with that. We've got another question. So this is from Stephanie, and she asks, are there any tech entrepreneurs of Latino descent eligible? And that is a yes. So we're saying that anyone that comes from a BAME background, so that is Black, Asian, or ethnic minority background, has the opportunity to take part, you are eligible. Also, female founders are eligible. And there's another series of other factors that also potentially make an entrepreneur eligible. And some of those were referenced very early on. So it was related to social capital, not going to a Russell Group university, and a few others that are made, are highlighted and made very clear on the application form. So please do have a look at that, and please do apply.
Yeah, for example, migrant is another one as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Great. I think Denise asked, do you know of any similar programs that have a national coverage or cover the West Midlands? I think the answer to that is no, we don't as a team off the top of our heads, but I think somebody mentioned in the team that Founder Vine are going to be doing something in the Birmingham area, I think, like an SU54. Again, not 100% sure, but I think there is a link somewhere that references that. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so the next question we get from Andrea. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm a middle-aged, over 50 white German woman, and I want to start a startup business at an older age. Does this program apply to myself? And yes, it does. It would depend on where you live. Like we say, you would have to be living in London, and sort of things around access to social capital and some of the other factors that make you eligible. But on the basis of you being a female founder, there is the potential that yes, you are eligible for this program. So I would encourage you to apply.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah, you're eligible. Do the founders need to be working on their startup full times? Anonymous. The answer is no. We have a range of founders that some that are, some that aren't. Obviously, everybody's situation and circumstances are different. I think, especially in the sort of early stages. So look, whatever status you have, whether you've got a full-time job, part-time job, whatever, we just encourage you to apply, and we will work with that. So yeah, just, all we ask for is that you're committed, and we'll just set the expectations on what's needed. We envisage like 2 to 3 hours a week of actual commitment in terms of you being there for events and for workshops and for content sessions, but then a few hours as well outside of that at whatever time you can.
Yeah. Okay, and then I've got a question here. So this is for Marcus. How many people are going to be on board in the first cohort, and what funding access is there? Okay, so we're running 4 streams, that being ideation, MVP, traction, and funding readiness. And in each of those cohorts, we have spaces for around 20 to 25 people. So on average, we've got about 100, 110 people in a wider cohort for the incubator programs running at any given moment. So we're running this twice. We mentioned that before, Emma, that this autumn from November onwards, and then later in the spring of 21.
Yeah.
The second part of that question, sorry, about funding access, I'll just put a quick point. So the Funding Ready stream is about informing you and educating you on the investment environment and what opportunities are available. It doesn't mean that you will actually get funding from us. We're not a funding organisation in that way. But what we hope to do is prepare you and allow you to be informed enough to make decisions that are appropriate for your business, so that you can then follow through on a strategy for fundraising if that's what you need to do, or if you want to explore alternative options, you're very aware of what's out there and how you might want to go about it.
Cool. So here, Yaman asked, what's the selection criteria other than being a BAME founder? So I think we've mentioned this before, but BAME, female, that you're based in London, migrant. There's a few different ones, but other than that, like if we expect that demand will probably be high, so we will do it based on your commitment, willingness to we will shortlist people for each stream, and we will have telephone conversations as well. So we just want to make sure that people are committed to doing it, and that they're going to get the most out of it. So yeah, really it's just about making sure that it is the right thing for you at this stage, and just putting in a really good application and just showing us how you're going to benefit and that type of thing.
And then we do have some open questions, Emma.
Yes, well, we'll go for it.
Yeah. So this first question seems to be about mentors. How should we pick a mentor and judge the right fit? Okay, so this is not exactly about the incubators themselves, but mentorship is a very important component of an entrepreneur's journey. And if you can find a mentor, I would encourage you to get one. It's such a good thing to have a person to sort of bounce ideas off, a sort of sounding board, but also get really constructive advice that you can apply immediately to what you're trying to do and see if it actually works or it doesn't. The point about having a mentor is not that they will always have the perfect or the right answer. It's that you're getting another perspective and another viewpoint and allowing you to search other realms of activity that you could apply to your business, and that will then take you that little bit closer to actually finding what works for you. So the more things that you're able to experiment with, try and see if it works or it fails, you know that you're a bit closer to working out the right move that's perfect for your business. In terms of finding a mentor, it's a very complicated process because there's many factors and variables in that. It might be that you want to look for somebody that's in your industry. It might be that you want somebody with very specific types of knowledge, might be around a technical skill or something else. But then there's also the unwritten things around whether you get on very well, or also finding out what their availability is and how frequent that sort of meeting would happen, or how you might want to interact with each other. There's a load of other unwritten criteria with picking a mentor and a mentor picking a mentee that you just have to try and figure out, and it takes a bit of time, but you just got to go out and meet people to be able to do that, I guess. What would you say, Emma?
Yeah, no, I think I echo all of your, everything you've said, Liv. One thing I will say is that we don't have a strict sort of mentoring program as part of this, but we do have what we call accountability groups and masterminds. And that's part of the community support. So if you don't get a place, for example, on one of the incubator streams, we'll probably just offer you a place on the accountability groups. And actually that is again an amazing experience where you will be matched with other like-minded founders at maybe a similar stage. I mean, you'll all of you together as a peer group, you will have like a mentor that is there to kind of facilitate your group and support you over 8 weeks. So it's not quite the incubator, but it's a very valuable experience, and one that I have I've benefited from in the past, and still I'm part of like peer groups because I just find them so invaluable. So excuse me, I would encourage anybody to kind of apply for that as well, really.
Yeah, 100%.
I think some of these other things are like replies.
Yeah.
Like, next one's maybe the Andrea Arts one, virtual reality.
Yeah.
Oh no, hold on. That isn't either.
No. The next question we have is, will there be support in terms of building an MVP if there is already an idea? Yes. So we were mentioning about the MVP stream, minimal viable product. It's very much focused on how to go about a build. So giving you as much information about no-code solutions so you can put something together. So it's quicker to start testing, getting it out to potential consumers, getting their feedback, taking that back and applying it and improving upon the first version of the product that you have. So yes, if you're looking for support in building an MVP, we definitely have something that could potentially work for you.
Yeah, 100%. So then Martin asks, can we apply as a team of co-founders? We would say, like, normally we prefer to have like one person per team. But what I probably would say is that a lot of the resources and content will be made available, can be made available to the wider team. And I think, to be honest with you, it's probably a good thing that you have maybe one person that takes part in this and imparts the knowledge back to the team, and somebody else that's really kind of focused on other parts of the business. But yeah, it's just a lot easier to so that we don't have too big a group. And I think it's fair to everybody as well that way.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we have another question. Generally, how much funding can an early stage startup receive? That's quite a huge question, only because I don't think it's as concrete or as stuck in the mud as you might think. What would you say, Emma?
Yeah, it really, really depends. It depends on the stage of the startup, the market that you're in. It depends on the team. It depends on a lot of factors. But what I would say is that we're living in very difficult times where a lot of early stage funding is no longer available in the London ecosystem. We're living, it's going through COVID, and that has had a massive impact on the market as well as a whole. And so what I would always advocate is that you do as much de-risking of your product as possible. So that means, validate your idea, try and build out, or even if it's with a no-code solution, as much as you can. And that will actually put you in a better position when it comes to raising investment, because you're not going to be, on the back foot, that actually you've got some leverage and you've got a bit more skin in the game. So I would always advise that you try to create a business. And obviously, if it's a huge market, deep tech, that type of thing, then yeah, have a look at whether or not you're able to raise investment. But take the advice from various different people. If you do get to have meetings and things with investors, take that advice on what they say. And just seek out advice from not just from investors, but from other entrepreneurs, from other people that have also doing the same things, and just keep going, really. But yeah, my advice would be just to look at how, if possible, you can kind of bootstrap or use other platforms and products to test out aspects of your business, especially during this period, really.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. So then we have a question from Vanessa. Does the program help with setting up funnels and creating digital products?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The traction stream does. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, and another one from Vanessa. Would there be any physical meetups or workshops, or is everything online? So, yeah.
No, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, everything is online at the moment, just considering the time that we're in and how unsure we are about what the best advice will be. We're making sure that everything is online and accessible. We would have loved to have done it in person, and we've done many of our programs in the past in person, but for ease of access and, like we said, to ensure that all people are safe, we're making sure that all our content and everything's delivered online at present.
Yeah, completely agree. Okay, so Nelma has asked, can you elaborate on the areas where founders live but the business is operating within the London area? So I think essentially, if you live or work in London, then you are eligible for this program. So yeah, I think it will all be explained in the application process. But yeah, essentially, I think it's even live, actually. You've got to be living in London, in the Greater London area. So yeah, in the boroughs of London.
Okay. Okay, and then we've got another question from someone anonymous. Okay, so what happens to anyone who isn't eligible for the incubator? So in that, because we only have so many spaces, we only have about 20 to 25 on any given incubator, there will be a few that won't make it. However, OneTech wide, we have a series of activities, resources and community support that people can take part in. So there's always something available, whether it be accountability groups, whether it potentially, as a registered member of the OneTech community, it might be coaching, or it might be some other form of mentoring, or some of the other activities that might be running at that particular time, you would have the opportunity to then apply for one of those. So it wouldn't be that you're missing out as such. You'll just get your advice and content delivered in a different way.
Yep, indeed. Somebody's asked, I'm a white male. Is there no way for a white male who's looking to start a business to take part? There is a way. So again, it comes back to social capital and university in terms of that side of things, that aspect of things. So no access to social capital. So if you fit that criteria, there's a way that you can take part.
Okay. The next question: can we get the training materials you provide to people who take part in programs, even if we can't take part in programs ourselves? I'm not sure in which way you mean this. If you mean as a founder that wasn't accepted onto the program, or if you mean as a team member of a startup that was accepted, but you've got one representative in the program. So in these two different scenarios, if you weren't accepted on the program, you will get some of the resources, and you'll get access to the Nest, potentially, which is one of our biggest offerings of resources available online. If you're a team member of a startup that was accepted, but you have already one representative, they are very free to share that with their wider team to then implement some of the learnings that they took from any sessions they were on.
And yeah, I think there is also the potential that we will share materials via the community as well. So yeah, just watch this space. This is something that still needs to be thought through, but we will definitely be sharing other things that are going on within the ecosystem and other opportunities and programs and things like that. So yeah. Okay, so as you know, so Nelma asks, as you know, within the UK funding is very scarce. Is Essex within the remit of this program? No. Although it's Ilford is in.
But it's London Borough of Redbridge.
London Borough. Okay, that's a different. Okay, sorry. So I'm not too up to date with my London boroughs, But no. Okay, if it's Essex, then no, unfortunately not. Right now, we're very much focused on pan London. So yeah, London boroughs only, unfortunately. But yeah, watch this space. We may be able to do that in the future, but not this year.
Okay. And then we've got a question from Anna Pearl. So, hello, sorry if you already answered this, but I'm starting a lash business and currently have samples but no website. I was wondering if I just apply for all the incubators or a specific one. And I would say, Anna Pearl, if you're thinking of applying for an incubator, throughout the actual application form, it gives some description of who it might be best for. And in that short description, if you feel that represents you, that's probably the best one. However, it really depends on what you're hoping to achieve and what you're hoping to do with your business. Some would be a better fit than others. Definitely, maybe funding readiness might not be the right one. Maybe it's more related to ideation or MVP. Maybe you want to rethink how you're going to digitize it. So yeah, just have a look at some of the descriptions. There's also should be a pack that will be made available on the website that gives a bit more of a summary of what the incubators will include. So hopefully that will give you the confidence to make a decision that feels more appropriate for you.
Yeah, 100%. So Marcus asked a question, which is, does a deep tech product like blockchain allow to get help with building of fundraising ICO to raise funds? That's a tricky one. So I think that, I would probably, as part of the sort of fundraising element or the funding readiness aspect of the program, it might be that there are some investors, for example, that might be able to give you advice on going down that route. So going down an ICO to actually raise funds, but it all depends on the type of product or service that you're building. So it really needs to, can't just be about sort of like, it needs to have a real, it has to be solving a real problem that I think an investor might be interested in, even if it has that ICO component. So I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm not even sure 100% sure if I've got the question right either, but what I would say is that I'm sure there are some blockchain investors that are a part of our network who will be able to give advice if this was a product or service that got through in the incubator. So, you know, I would just recommend that you apply for the incubator and we see what happens. And once you get to that point, if you do get to that point, we might be able to support.
Okay, and then the next question. Okay. What if someone doesn't have any business skills or tech skills? Also, what is Bootstrap? Okay. So our programs are designed to be quite open and even foundational in sharing knowledge and vocabulary of the startup world. So you don't necessarily have to have the best business skills or tech skills to start. A lot of our founders in the past have been non-technical. That's why we have a focus on no-code solutions as well in the later MVP stage, to support those that are trying to break into this very, not difficult, but this industry of tech. And then, so you can very much learn that throughout the program, and you'll be surprised what you know on a sort of almost common sense level, but also it's just giving you the confidence to then apply it, try it out, practice, and then you'll see the fruits of that labor throughout the 12-week program. And the word bootstrap, so bootstrapping is about funding the business yourself without any external finance. Would that be fair, Emma?
That's 100% yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's what we mean by bootstrap. So seeing as long, you know, building it out yourself, using your own funding or self-funding essentially. Yeah, and it looks like we've got one more question, unless anyone wants to get one in very quickly. We're going to probably wrap up now anyway. But last question is, do tech startups require tech founder to be accepted? And the answer is no. As Liv touched on before, on the earlier stage streams, we will be supporting you with regards to how you can validate your products through no-code solutions. And no-code solutions are basically other existing platforms and technology that allow you to very quickly build out, you know, landing pages and other even more technical products and solutions by just like, you know, drag and dropping elements into a page, or even apps. You can build apps as well these days without having to know a line of code. So there's lots of different ways that you can validate your business that doesn't require you to have a tech co-founder. And I think that's a wrap. Yeah, I think we're done.
We might have two more. No. Okay, so Annapelle just replied, are we allowed to apply for more than one incubator? I guess, but we would want you to try and think about that and try and pick the best one for yourself. You could put one. I mean, we'll be reviewing and going through all of those applications, so we'll have the best picture based on the descriptions you share about where you're at and what you've been doing so far, to then see if we think that that's the best incubator based on what we know is going to be taught. So if you apply for one and then we make a different suggestion, I think that's probably the best way to go about it, rather than applying for a series of them. Yeah.
And yeah, we will be sending this video out to everybody who has attended or signed up. So it will be here if you want to come back to any questions as well. Yeah, I think that's a wrap, Liv. I think that's a wrap.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody that has been part of today's session. So obviously to all of the OneTech team that made this possible, Liv, Lotta, Alison, everyone, Amy, Fede, Shan, Kelly, everybody in the team, the wider CE team. Thanks to JP Morgan, obviously, who have supported us hugely over the last couple of years. So specifically to Karen as well. and the rest of the team, Oliver, all our partners, everybody who's been involved in OneTech over the last 2 years, and obviously the entrepreneurs who, you know, really help us to make this happen. And, you know, over the next few years, we've got massive and ambitious aims and goals, but with everyone and all the support that we receive from everybody that's involved in this, as well as all the entrepreneurs, like, we really think it's massively achievable. And I think that's it. So thank you. Cheers, Liv.
All right.
Thank you.